What up, everyone? My name's Christopher Rivas, and this is Brown Enough, Stories Between Black and White. We are in our second week of the new year, and I am already feeling different. Not really. But maybe some of you are, and with the new year are trying to make new changes or listening to new podcasts, like this one. So if you're a new listener today, thank you for being here. And whether you're new or you've been here since the jump, I got a little favor to ask. If you like listening to Brown Enough, subscribe or follow the show. That way, you get all our episodes right when they come out. It is a little step, but trust me, it helps out a lot. And while you're at it, share the podcast with your friends, cousins, primas, primos, tios, tias, uncles, and aunts, the person who runs the taco shop down the street. Tell everyone, y'all. All right, now on with the show.
Single day, and so with pride, let us welcome the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Just before the new year, more than 5,000 people were invited to the White House to see President Joe Biden sign the Respect for Marriage Act, an act that recognizes all same-sex and interracial marriages across the entire country.
God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. And now, let me sign the Respect for Marriage Act into law.
Among the guests invited to the White House was the legendary New York City drag queen, Brita Filter. Outside of drag, Brita is Jesse Carl Havea, a 37-year-old who's proud of their Polynesian heritage. Brita's dad was born on the small Pacific island of Tonga. And in drag, Brita is a fierce advocate for LGBTQ rights who was thrilled to show up to the signing of this legislation.
I make sure that I'm going out there in something brand new and looking sickening because it'll catch people's eye and pay attention when I'm in drag.
Outside the White House that day, Brita was wearing a dress in a beautiful luminescent shade of brown. And yes, they did look sickening and gorgeous as they posed for a couple of pictures for their Instagram. The next day after this event, Brita sat down to chat with me about what it was like growing up with a Mormon dad, what visiting family in Hawaii feels like, and how they show up for their community through drag. Stick around, y'all. You don't want to miss this. Brita brings the party every Friday night at a bar called Pieces in New York City. It's a small local gay bar where people are usually crammed in together like sardines to see their favorite drag queens perform. Brita's been performing there for 6 years now.
I gotta know off the top, Brita Filter, how does the name get born?
Originally my name was going to be Roxy Cotton. And my mom was like, absolutely not. And so I was actually doing Cinderella. I was playing a stepsister in the national tour of Cinderella. And when that ended, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to New York. I'm going to be a drag queen. And that night at this after party, I met this girl named Brita. And I was like, oh my God, Brita, that's like Brita Filter. That's amazing. And I decided I was going to be anything but pure from that point on. And that's how Brita Filter was born.
While Brita loves performing at local gay bars in New York City, they are also taking over the world by showcasing their talent on the small and big screen. In 2020, they became a contestant on a little tiny reality TV show you may have heard of called RuPaul's Drag Race. Here's how Brita introduces themselves on season 12 of the show.
Oh, girl, I look good. Most people think I'm like a big old black lady, but I'm a Polynesian princess. My dad is from the Kingdom of Tonga. Out of drag, I'm definitely Maui. And then at night, I turn into Moana. I guess we'll just wait for those other hosts to come out. Yes, Mama. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see these other girls.
We won't really get into Drag Race too much, but I like these two lines that you said. Most people think I'm like a big old black lady, but I'm a Polynesian princess. And out of drag, I'm definitely Maui. And then at night, I turn into Moana.
Yeah.
Can you please explain to me what this means to you?
Growing up, people just saw me as a person of color, and they didn't know what I was. They didn't know what Polynesian was. They didn't know what Tongan was. They kind of just generalized me, and I kind of like just went with the generalization. And in drag, it's a giant, it's a character. So because the music that I perform and enjoy performing happens to be like really soulful gospel music, people would just assume that I was black. But that's not the case. I'm definitely a Tongan, proud Polynesian. And I wasn't proud to be Polynesian really until after Drag Race aired. Like I had a lot of shame around it.
Oh, interesting. Until after.
Until after. I grew up Mormon. And my dad kind of disowned me when I told him I didn't want to go to church anymore when I was 12 years old. So once that happened, he told me I couldn't come to his house anymore. So I didn't see my dad. So it was kind of it was really hard for me. And I always associated because my dad is Tongan, my mom is white. I associated those negative feelings with being Tongan.
Wow.
I wasn't proud of who I was, and it took a long time. And I grew up in Arizona in like a predominantly white high school, and so it took some time. And not until I was on Drag Race and I saw how important it was for representation and for me to be there and to be a queer Polynesian and to be out in the open and proud of who I was. Then I started to realize like, oh my God, this is huge. Like there's so many people that need that queer representation. Like, I mean, we had The Rock when I was growing up, but he wasn't gay.
Can you tell me any more about your fam? I know you said you were raised in Arizona. It was mainly white.
Raised in Arizona. I mean, my mom. So my mom's a cute little white lady from Ohio. My dad, straight up like fresh off the boat from Tonga, and so are all of his family. And I was raised Mormon, which was a big influence growing up. And I also didn't know anything else. I just thought it was normal that we didn't drink Diet Coke and eat chocolate. As a kid, I was like, okay, whatever. We don't do this. Cool. And then my parents got divorced, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, we're not supposed to get a divorce. So they really switched everything up. But I'm glad they did get a divorce. My life is much better because of it.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 12.
And was the church a part of the divorce? What was?
I mean, yeah, kind of. You know, you're not allowed to get a divorce in the Mormon church. That's a thing. So it was, at first it was hard because I didn't understand. I was like, what are we doing? We're going against the things that you told me that we were supposed to, abide by. And then once they got a divorce, my mom's drinking wine. I was like, what are you doing? We don't do that. We don't drink boxed wine. What is this? And then started listening to different music. And it really just opened my eyes and ears, everything, to a whole different world that I was not accustomed to because I was kind of they raised me in a box.
Full circle.
Right?
Raised in a box and then you broke out the box.
That's it. Absolutely.
How many, do you have any siblings?
I do. I have two sisters, Toki Lupe and Pualani.
What beautiful names.
Right? And then I got stuck with Jessie.
Wow. Why didn't you get one of those names?
Originally, in the Tongan tradition, the dad's sister has to name the firstborn, and my mom was not having it. She was like, absolutely not. That is not happening. So I truly got the whitest name, Jesse Carl Havea, while they got these beautiful, elegant names.
Do their names mean anything?
Pualani means flower from heaven, and then Toki Lupe means it's like a dove in Hawaiian. That's my grandma's name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Is there any relationship between Pacific Islanders and Mormonism? How did your father, fall into that, or?
Yeah. So, very similar, the Book of Mormon, the musical that they have on Broadway right now. It's very similar that these Mormon missionaries came to Tonga and essentially converted all these people to being Mormon. My family is hardcore Mormon on my dad's side, and they all still practice. They have a little bit more understanding for me and my existence in the world now. It kind of took me being on television multiple times for them to be accepting, to be like, oh, okay, well, you're famous.
Today, Brita is in touch with both their parents, their mom, who now lives in Maine, and their dad and 2 sisters who live in Hawaii and are still in the Mormon church.
Have you pushed everything away from Mormonism, or is there something that has stayed with you and stays with you?
Yeah, the family values, definitely. There's amazing family values that have come from that I've learned from the church, and like that are still with me and that are still with my family. And on Mondays, like we would get together. I mean, we don't do it so much anymore because they live in Hawaii, but they get together once a week, and everyone sits in a circle, and we talk about what we're grateful for, and then see if anyone in the family needs anything. Everyone from like the kids to the adults, and so they all have their moment to speak, which I think is really, really important. And I think certain things like that now get overlooked. I feel like some parents don't even talk to their kids, like talk to their kids. So yeah, the family values, they're pretty instilled in me. And when I decide to raise a family, I will definitely take those values, but the rest of the stuff they do is a little crazy.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? I knew I was like, there's got to be one good thing, and this way,
yeah,
that's how we make our life, right? We pick like this beautiful thing from here and this beautiful thing from here, and none of it needs to be doctrine, and that's where it gets dangerous, as opposed to like, let me make my own smorgasbord
there you go.
Beauty. What is the journey of describing your profession to your family?
I didn't really tell my dad's side of the family. It's one thing to come out as gay, and then it's another thing to come out as a drag queen and say, hey, not only do I like to sleep with men, but I like dressing up like a woman and dancing around too. So it was shocking. My mom didn't understand it when I first told her. She told me that she was like, you're not going to be pretty. She thought it was being trans, being a drag queen. And that's not what it is. I mean, those are people who like to live their lives authentically as how they want to. And drag queen is specifically for entertainment purposes only. And I grew up loving musical theater. I loved it so much and went to school for musical theater. So I kind of transferred that into drag because this is funny. I did it because I was sick of doing all these whitewashed musicals. I was so over it. If I had to play the Polynesian guy to the left in South Pacific one more time, I was like, I couldn't do it. And I wasn't getting cast in things. I wanted to create my own art and be my own artistic director. So that's kind of how I landed into drag. And I was in charge of everything, the hair, the makeup, what I say, what I do, what I look like, how the numbers are going to go, how many dancers I have, the costume. So it was really artistically freeing once I found Brita and got into my like niche of it.
I got to flag the line, I wanted to be my own artistic director.
Yeah.
I just think that's like, put a pause on that, period. The power in being, just look up what an artistic director does, at a theater, at an institution, and to say like, that's what I want to be in charge of. That's the role I want to give myself. And something I've always said about my work is when I was trying to be chosen by others, in Hollywood and whatever I do in my art, and I wanted to be picked by others, it never really took off. And it wasn't until I also, without knowing this language, said, I'm going to be my own artistic director. I'm going to put my freedom on blast. I'm not going to give a fuck what people think. That people started being like, oh, this is great. Yeah, this one. This is cool. Yeah, I'm all about this. That breaking out. So I just want to thank you for that language because it's really beautiful.
A couple of months ago, I came across a story about an amazing Hawaiian surfer named Duke Kahanamoku. He was one of the greatest athletes of all time. This dude could do anything, but he was struck by racism in a sport dominated by white men. And at the same time, he also felt like he was not Hawaiian enough. And this reminded me a lot of my guy Porfirio Rubirosa. And it made me think that folks from the Pacific Islands probably have a lot in common with brown people like me from the Caribbean islands. And so I had to ask Brita all about this.
Is there anything in there that you can relate to as someone with Polynesian heritage, sort of never being enough in this space or enough in this space?
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize who I was until I went to Hawaii for the first time. And that was when I was 23 years old. I never saw anyone that looked like me until I went to Hawaii. And it was the most shocking and incredible thing to see other people that were like me. And, you know, when I go back to Hawaii, I'm seen as like being whitewashed. Essentially, like my sisters like talking pidgin to each other. It's like a dialect that they have in Hawaii. Yeah, no, I feel that. I definitely feel that. And even when I come back here from Hawaii, I'm like, oh wait, I gotta I guess code switch a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I felt that the first time I went to Colombia. I went by myself as an adult.
Yeah,
and I felt like my body took a deeper breath than it had breathed in years. You know, it was very unconscious. It was just like, oh, I'm here. I'm everywhere around here.
Yeah.
I see myself. I feel myself. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to, you know, I'm just like, I'm amongst myself. What is the importance of a space of belonging, a space amongst yourself? And in drag too, I think, right? Like, because I like to think drag culture is about creating spaces of belonging.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I started doing drag, really. It was I never felt like I belonged in certain spaces, especially gay spaces, because a lot of the times I remember the first few gay bars that I went to here in New York City when I was in college were predominantly white men with like 6-packs, 8-packs, just like, tall, thin, beautiful models. And people would treat me differently because of the way that I looked. And I know that they did that because I'm a bigger guy. And, Tongans are big people. Like we'll crush you. Like most of us are football players, rugby players, but I have that build. But in Hawaii, it's embraced and it's such a beautiful thing. But over here, it's so different and it's not embraced as much. So when I started drag, I was like, I want to make sure that everyone feels like they belong in this space. And I have continued to do that throughout my career. And with every single show that I produce and do is creating space for everyone, no matter who you are.
Is there a version of you moving to Hawaii, or do you find that belonging in New York? Because as someone who's born and raised in New York, I know that you can find everything like everybody out there. So,
yeah.
Or do you see yourself going there? Because I know you spent a year there during the pandemic. What was that year like, and is it calling your name?
Yeah, well, during the pandemic, I was like, I do not want to be cold anymore. So I was like, I'm going to go to Hawaii and I'm going to stay there and I'm going to sleep on my sister's couch while the 4 kids who are under 5 run around the house and like slap me while I'm sleeping. It was a beautiful thing to be there. And I definitely thought about it. I definitely thought about moving there. But when I go back to Hawaii or back to an island, like I feel like I'm at home. Like there's something sacred about Hawaii. And it's probably the most, and it was at a time where I was really going through a lot of mental challenges, and I needed to ground myself, and I needed to like have my feet in the sand, and like there's definitely ancestors and spirits that are there that I feel like helped guided me on the right path. I definitely see myself becoming absolutely insanely rich and buying like a huge estate for my family where we all have our own little individual houses on a beach, hopefully one day. But New York is like, I honestly don't think I could live anywhere else because of the eclecticness of it. Whether you're a millionaire or you're homeless, you are taking the same damn train, and you're forced to take that subway train because it's faster than because there's traffic. So it is definitely a melting pot, and where you can't separate yourself from anyone else. You have to accept it and also learn from it. But New York is home. I'm a musical theater. I love the art. That's one reason why I wouldn't move to Hawaii, is because they don't have the art that they have here.
Yeah, that's huge. As an artist, I get it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Brita's going to tell us what it meant for their dad to come see them performing in drag for the very first time. Don't go anywhere, y'all. And we are back with the New York drag legend, Brita Filter.
I want to chat Brita for a sec. You are the very first AAPI contestant on Drag Race with Pacific Island heritage. Did you know that when you auditioned for the show?
Yes.
You did. Is that why you auditioned?
No. I auditioned because I was a really good drag queen.
Beautiful.
And I just wanted to show my art, but to be the first Polynesian queen. Now there's other ones now, because now there's another Tongan queen from Drag Race Down Under, but I was the first.
That's right.
Yeah.
How does Brita express her heritage?
This is something that was like really hard for me in preparing for Drag Race. I always, my manager at the time was like, "Hey, you really need to like start putting a flower in your hair with every look that you have, just so that people know you're Polynesian." I was like, "Why do I have to do that? Like, I don't want to do that." I was like, just because I am Polynesian doesn't mean that it needs to be like always in my drag. Like I am what I am, and that's a part of me, but like I don't need to put it on the outside to let people know. I was like, I'm a theater queen, that's what I am, and I wanted to embrace it. And so it was the first time, Drag Race was the first time that I prepared Polynesian looks for the show. And even Drag Con this past year, every single look I did was based off of a Polynesian design for it. So I have learned to embrace it, and I think that being on the show and having people say how much they look up to me because of the representation, and it's I knew how bad I needed that when I was a kid. Yeah, I really needed it, and I didn't have it. I didn't have anyone to look up to or I'm getting all emotional about it.
Yeah, we got the time, and you can. Thank you.
Yeah, I really needed that. I needed that growing up. I needed to see a queer, strong person in their energy, and like I was so lost as a kid, and I didn't have anyone to look up to be like, "Hey, I can do that," or "You can do that." I mean, in musical theater, there's no Polynesians. When I was growing up doing musical theater, I was like trying to be these white guys that are like baritteners. Like and that's why I pushed my Tongan side away, because I was like, I need to be like that guy. I need to be like this white guy right here, and I need to sing that good, and I need to sing better than him because I'm brown, and I have to be able to beat him.
I always talk about armor. White people in this world, because of representation, get armor all the time. They see what they can become. They see themselves as presidents, as this, as doctors, as lawyers, as movie stars, as drag queens, as they see themselves all the time. And bodies of culture, we get less of that.
Mm-hmm.
That armor. You are saying you needed that armor. And for whatever reason, you gave it to yourself. And now you've given it to so many. So I'm here to thank you for providing armor for so many people.
Yeah.
And not just Polynesians, but brown and anyone, and advocates, and you are providing that armor. You said when you were, I think 12, you told your father you did not want to be in the Mormon.
I told him I didn't want to go to church anymore, because I started doing research about, I knew I was gay when I was 12. And I didn't necessarily come out of the closet, but I knew that the Mormon church didn't accept it, and I didn't really understand it, and I didn't want to go to church anymore. And so he said, if you're not going to go, then you can't come, you can't see me.
And you recently posted a really touching story about your pops seeing you for the first time in drag during the Kona Pride Festival in Hawaii. Where is this story now? What is your relationship?
It's great. He was so proud. I mean, my dad is never like he comes from a very simple life. My dad is like he has a farm in Hawaii, and like he knows the earth. That's one thing that my dad does. He doesn't read very well. He doesn't speak English very well, but the one thing he does is that he knows the earth really, really well, and it's an amazing thing. So we never really had anything to bond over growing up, but when he came to Kona to see me perform as Brita, I will never forget it. He was smiling from ear to ear, and like I even was on the microphone. I was like, "This is my dad is seeing me for the first time." He's like waving like he's on a parade to everyone, and just so proud to see me affect all these people. And then he started opening up about things, and he was like, "Oh, well, when I went to the club," he was like, "I want to come dancing with you guys." He came to the gay bar and was like dancing with us and getting wild. So it was nice. It took my dad for my stepmom to pass away to really embrace me and my drag and Brita. She was like obsessed with my makeup and was like, "Whoa, look at what your son's doing." And my dad was like, I don't know. And so she Tongan women are rough women, and she like slapped the shit out of him and told him to start to accept me. And her passing away, I think he realized that he could possibly like lose me forever. So he really tried and apologized for everything that he did in the past. And yeah, I'm grateful that he has been able to see me do drag at least once. I think it was really important. And now he's people know that he's my dad, and he's kind of famous in Hawaii now.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, that's my son, the only Polynesian drag queen. So he's very proud of me.
What do you want people to take away from your story, or from your presence, or from you?
During Drag Race, I got a lot of hate. I still got a lot of hate for going to the White House. Fox News did a story about me, and I'm getting like death threats again. And it's hard, and it's hard to like have all this outside chatter, and like when you're doing something good and you're not trying to harm anyone, and you have all these people coming at you and saying stuff. And I want people to know that like what you have inside of you and what you have to offer the world is so important. And I've been in situations where I've like tried to hurt myself numerous times, and I look back at that and I'm like, wow, to think of the journey that I've done and where I am now, that it definitely gets better, and you can truly do anything you set your mind to. Mental health is so important, and I had to be okay as Jessie before I could be okay as Brita, and I had to learn that. I learned that the hard way a lot of the times, but I'm probably my worst critic and so hard on myself, worse than other individuals, and it's taken me a long time to like be kind to myself and tell myself that I'm like, you're doing a good job. You got this.
How do you do that? Like, how do you actually take care of yourself?
Not my life used to be so focused on Brita all the time. And the small things, like even like brushing my teeth, to me is like taking care of myself. I wouldn't brush my teeth at night. I would like pass out in my bed and be like, whatever. And I even something as little as that, or going to therapy, or taking time out of the day to just be.
what's next for you in your career?
You know, I'm writing a show. I've always been so afraid of doing this. I don't know why. I really want to embrace theater and drag and combine the two and have my own show that talks about hate and politics and everything. I'm writing a show for Pride because I feel like in the gay community, there's people, you know, they don't teach this stuff in schools. They don't teach about what happened, that, you know, the Stonewall riots that happened in 1969 were led by two trans women of color, drag queens, and that the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence in the 80s were the ones that took care of all these gay men living with AIDS. And so I'm combining this all into a very hilarious educational show. I just think it's and politically, being at the White House, yes, we passed the right to marry, which is incredible, but anywhere in the country, however, we still need to pass the Equality Act, and there's 29 states where you can be fired. Yeah, get married tomorrow, but if you come to work, I'm going to fire you for being gay. Like, people aren't even aware that this exists. So we have to like educate the younger generation. I feel like a lot of people, it's also why I'm so big on voting. You know, during the last election, 1 out of 5 LGBTQIA plus people were not registered to vote, which was shocking to me. So it's my job to educate people, and, you know, and creatively, like, that's what I do. I'm an educator, but baby, I'm gonna make it funny as hell, and, you know, be dressed up in a gorgeous, sparkly gown and throw a poop joke in there, and you're gonna love it.
You got to make it digestible, right? Sugar does help the medicine go down. You know, to quote a white woman with an umbrella, like, sugar helps the medicine go down, and we got to be able to eat it. Is there anyone you would like to shout out, put on blast in a good way? Anyone in your field or outside your field, you're like, yo, this person's doing great work. Check them out.
Yeah, my drag daughter, Laguna Blue, is doing such incredible work. She's a Latina Spitfire pop icon. She's kind of paving her own way within the drag scene, and she's a recording artist, and an incredible recording artist. And she's, you know, not following the standard way of like getting on Drag Race or doing these things, but she's literally touring the country right now, opening for people in like 40 different states. So like I'm so proud of her, and she's embracing her heritage, because she's white passing, but like it's such a beautiful thing to see when someone really comes into their own. And I'm so proud of her. Laguna Blue, you're the one, girl.
Laguna Blue.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. It's so important, and I really look forward to going back to past episodes and listening to the conversations that you had. This has honestly been one of the most important conversations that I've had in a long time, and I didn't realize that I needed this for me. So thank you.
Oh, well, that's such a blessing and a beautiful thing to hear. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
To see more of Brita Filter's work, you can follow them at The Brita Filter or check out their website, thebritafilter.com. Next time on Brown Enough, we're talking to Justine Bell Lambright, co-owner of Calce Wine Cooperative.
Right wine to have with certain foods, according to you. So what wine goes best with a nice, delicious, juicy burger?
I would say like a Barbera d'Asti.
Yeah, we talking all about wine, so get your favorite glass of wine ready. I'll see you soon, y'all. Peace. Brown Enough is a production of Stitcher. It's created and hosted by me, Christopher Rivas, and I'm also an executive producer. Our team includes producers Manolo Morales, senior producer Abigail Keel, technical director Casey Holford, production assistant Gabrielle Gladney, and executive producer Camille Stanley. Original music by Casey Holford. Special thanks to Brendan Burns. Workhouse Media is a contributing producer to the podcast. Carlos E. Hernandez of Ikigai Management is also an executive producer of Brown Enough. Don't forget to subscribe or follow Brown Enough so you never miss an episode. Thanks.
Witness Docs from Stitcher.